All right, I'm going to demo a kettlebell or dumbbell windmill. I love this exercise. It's great for mobility, but it is a very complicated, not an advanced, but a complicated movement. And it's advisable that you're doing this in front of a mirror until you really get the hang of it, because you're moving in patterns, specifically side to side, that you don't typically move. And you're actually moving the hips while keeping the feet planted. So in order to perform this movement, you're going to be using a kettlebell or a dumbbell. It does not really matter what it is. But you're going to start with your feet just about shoulder width apart, and you're going to grab the kettlebell or the dumbbell in one hand. So in this case, I'm going to be grabbing it with my right hand. I'm going to bring it up into the racked position. I got a good rack or good alignment with the wrist. Now, because it's in my right hand, my feet, and both feet, this is one of the few times it's going to happen, but both feet are going to point 45 degrees away from the kettlebell. So in this instance, 45 degrees towards my left. So from here, feet are hip width apart, the heels are going to stay planted there. I move my toes both about 45 degrees. From here, I'm going to raise the kettlebell up above my head. I'm going to try to maintain keeping the knuckles right on top of my shoulder, and I'm going to watch that kettlebell. So as soon as the kettlebell goes up overhead, my eyesight does not leave the kettlebell until it comes back down into the racked position. So it's going to look like so. Boom, it's up. Wrist is neutral, knuckles pointing up towards the ceiling, feet are 45, heels are planted. Now, what I'm going to do, keeping that elbow locked out, I'm going to push my hips underneath the kettlebell. My opposite hand is going to stay on top of my hips, and this is where the move's going to differ for beginners to advanced. It's just a matter of how far you're going to be pushing the move. All right, so for beginners, we're just going to push those hips out and back. Very, very simple movement. Get accustomed to the movement. Of course, start with a much lighter weight than you think you could possibly do, especially so since the kettlebell's up overhead. For advanced, what we're going to do is we're going to hike that hip out to the side. Arm comes down, straight arm for kind of making this nice T. Watching that kettlebell all the way through. And boom, bring the hips back underneath. All right, push the hips out, push the hips out. So you're going to see my left leg is good and straight. My right leg slight bend in the knee as I'm hiking the hip out towards the right. And boom, back underneath. Great for the medial glutes. It's going to be working it out. It's going to be stretching it. Phenomenal movement to get a nice little warm up. Or you can start loading it up and get a great exercise that moves you in a different plane than you typically do. I typically keep this one for warm-ups unless I've got a serious athlete.